the stock market is going to grow up. I think our index is around 4,300. And you remember around in 2006, they had hit something close to 6,000. So I think that as the market recovers, following the global financial crisis, this market will move a little bit further up. We expect maybe the index to hit something like 5,000 before the end of the year. Yeah. So we expect the shares to move up. I think if you look at the drivers of our market at the moment, is the level of interest rates, and the level of interest rates have been coming down. And there is a very high probability that they will remain low for a long time, maybe up to the end of the year. Yeah. And this will spur the growth of the equities market.
Sure, you certainly have had it both ways, because at the same time we've also seen phenomenal growth on the bond side, and that has benefited the stock exchange, whereas ordinarily you'd expect money that goes into the bond market would be taking some money out of the NSE. But in this case, the growth of the bond market, on the other hand, has also been phenomenal. What do you see as the drivers of that side of the market going forward? Do you anticipate more companies to come and list their bonds going forward? And what kind of inquiries are you getting, in fact, from companies?
Let me put it this way. It was a deliberate and conscious program for us to develop the bond market. As a way of developing the stock market, we encourage the government and Treasury to come up with a proper yield curve for purposes of for treasury bonds, and the purpose of that was to be able to price the various corporate bonds. Yeah. Then we were lucky enough that we were able also to persuade the government to start issuing infrastructure bonds, and for purposes of developing infrastructure, roads, energy sector, water sector, etc. And they were able to issue these bonds. So as a result, all the other companies which are in the infrastructure sector came also on board to start issuing bonds. So we expect that several companies will start issuing more and more infrastructure bonds.
Are you talking to some of them now?
Yes, we're already talking to one client. Oh, ourselves, because we are one of the brokerage houses. We are discussing with 3. We expect one of them to be in the market anytime now. So, and I am sure also the other players in the market are discussing with some others.
I'll prop further and ask if you have any names for us.
No, I will not tell you anything. But I'll tell you the last one who issued a good infrastructure bond was Earth River Mining, which raised about 1.6 billion, which is very, very good. We are discussing with a company at the moment, which also want to issue about 2 billion worth of bonds, and a few other companies are in the pipeline. Sure.
But on the other hand, we've also seen a disturbing trend, I suppose, where listings have not been as strong as reflecting the strength in the rising equity market. Why haven't companies been coming to list on
Traditionally, our companies do not come for listing simply because the interest rates are low or when the market is vibrant. They just come to the market for a specific reason. Either they want to raise additional capital, or either the main entrepreneurs want to divest a little bit. But on the average, they do not follow the normal trends, whereby when the interests are low, you now come into the market, you raise capital, because our companies generally are not very, very much capital hungry. And the other point to remember is that when the interest rates are overall low within the economy, the banks are able to give this fund to give the companies funds at very reasonable rates. So they may not necessarily find the need to come to the market.
But are there some that are knocking on your door to try and come?
Well, I think we have several of them, but they are coming up with rights issues. These are some of them
rights issues more than listings themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, let's talk about regional growth. Now, we have seen, as I said, strong growth on the Nairobi stock market. And looking further south, we also know the JSE has been on the lookout for cooperation and for acquisitions of African stock exchanges. Have they approached you?
The JSE has not approached us directly with a view to, really cooperating in that manner. They approached us with a view of getting our companies, the blue chips, listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. But we told them that we do not think that is the appropriate strategy for us at this particular moment in time. Okay. We told them what we need is, first of all, to integrate our regional market, East Africa, that's Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda. We create an East African Stock Exchange first, and once we have done that, then we can now start considering cross-border listing between JSE and the Nairobi